Hello, Chameleon Academy. Welcome to this Saturday Chameleon Workshop. Obviously, I have somebody special with me today. Hello, Stephanie Kong.
Hey, Bill. Hey, Chameleon folks.
All right. Well, some of you may recognize Stephanie from famous clips such as "Does It Bite" and other fun things in Madagascar. But we are going to go into a little bit of her life, and you're going to find out very soon how interesting that life is. But first, Stephanie, we need to say hello to everybody who is in the chat here. So let's see. We've got, oh my goodness, we have so many people. Joanne's here. Ryan, welcome from Botswana. Very good to have you. And James and Dustin. Okay, Miss Mount fans. That's my wife, Yvette. Glad to have her. And everybody, thank you very much for coming. So today, for those of you who are watching in the replay, this is a Saturday Chameleon Workshop, and this is actually live in front of a live studio audience. And if you would like to join us, it's every Saturday at 12 noon Pacific. Today, we're talking about watching chameleons in the wild, and Stephanie here is a very interesting person to have on because she's a biologist that works in Botswana, and so she gets to see chameleons on, well, whenever they decide to walk across her path. And so
yes.
Annabelle's here.
Hi, Annabelle.
Yeah, everybody. Stephanie came to
James
Madagascar
and
with us.
Mikey.
So a number of us really know. And let's see, Eliza Ann says, what kind of chameleons do you find in Botswana? You know what? You're about to see. So you know what? Let's bring in some pictures that can show a little bit about Stephanie's life out there. So let's start with this.
Hi, everyone.
This is a day on the job for Stephanie. What are you doing there?
Yeah, so thanks, Bill, and hello, everyone. I'm Steph. I was fortunate enough to go on the recent Madagascar trip, and that's how I've connected with Chameleon Academy and Bill. And I'm originally from California, but I've been living in Botswana for almost the last 3 years, and then before that, in and out of South Africa. I'm a wildlife biologist. So I have a long history with conservation projects, and now I am a managing director for an elephant NGO. So we do elephant research, but our focus is trying to reduce human-wildlife conflict. So we do that through research as well as engaging with communities. So I'm very lucky to spend time out there. Yes, I work with the Big Five, with elephants, and I see lions regularly, and I'm very, very lucky to live this lifestyle with large megafauna. But I have a very soft spot for chameleons and all things reptiles. So here we were collaring elephants back in 2022. It's part of a study to understand range expansion of elephants in our area. We're located right on the edge of the Kalahari, and elephants have been absent for decades for a number of reasons, and they're starting to come back. And so we use collars to figure out where are they going, what are they doing, and seeing ways that we can reduce the conflict with local rural communities.
Okay, so apparently you have pets.
Yeah, so I'm very busy. So I'm very lucky that I am located and I live in technically one of the national parks in Botswana. So it's completely unfenced, and it is a pretty amazing experience to just have wild animals constantly coming through camp. This is basically our front yard. We're right on the edge of a river. But in recent years with severe droughts, there just hasn't been any food for the animals. So our neighbor who owns one of the lodges fundraises for buying bales of hay, and the hippos, which at the time there are about 60 or so hippos, are being supplementally fed for drought alleviation. So every day they're down there, and I get to help out when I can, and feeding the hippos to just keep them going until the rains come, until the grass comes.
So these are completely wild.
These are completely wild animals. Yeah, so you just have to be incredibly careful because they are dangerous. They're wild, and they're sadly desperate because of the lack of food and basic resources for them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I say this a lot in our conversations. How do you keep safe doing this so close to hippos that are known to be cranky?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's mostly just about trying to use common sense and just trying to be mindful of where you are in relation to where the hippos are. Usually during the feedings, they're really focused on the food. But still, yeah, you do have to be careful. When we walk around camp, we really try not to walk around at night because there are often elephants and hippos and potentially lions and leopards walking around through camp as well. But we have a number of safety protocols, like you always have to have a flashlight with you. Buddy system's always preferred, but just recognizing that you are in a completely wild area and anything could be around the corner.
Yeah, I spent some of the trip in the seat next to Steph here and talking about her life. And very often I would sit there with my jaw on the floor going, how do you keep safe? But we'll give you a little bit of a taste of that here.
Yeah.
So who is this guy?
So this is a meerkat. You might know him better as Timon from Lion King. But there are a number of habituated colonies of meerkats in Botswana, and you can go visit them. And if you stay quiet and still on the ground, they will climb up on you to use you as a perch to look around for predators. So it's a pretty amazing experience to have that hands-on wildlife experience. They're completely wild. They're never fed. You cannot pet them. They can pet you, but you cannot pet them. And if you just stand really still, you can often get a little meerkat buddy on your shoulder, on your head.
Is it you can't pet them because they won't let you, although they'll run away?
Yeah, they would not let you. That's yeah, that just goes too far. So, but you can let them climb on you if they want to.
Okay, Kiki's asking, are you close to the Okavango Delta?
Yes, I am. So I'm just about 2 hours south. I'm right on the edge of the Kalahari. So in Botswana, you have the Kalahari comprising of a lot of the country in the south. And then up in the north, you have the Delta, and then you have Chobe. And Botswana is just unbelievably wildlife rich. So in all these areas, you're going to encounter wildlife. But yeah, the Delta, we're very well known for that, considering it's the world's largest inland delta, and it supports unbelievable wildlife diversity.
Oh, by the way, Kiki is one of our Stephanies. We collect Stephanies here.
Oh yeah, yay! Other Stephanies.
We have 3, and so that is why we have one of the best communities ever, is because we have lots of Stephanies. So, all right, now back to me asking how you stay safe. What's going on here?
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky to be in an area that has this kind of wildlife still. And as I said before, you just have to be careful because they are around. We see their tracks all the time. They especially come through at night. But we have fortunately never had an incident. But we, in terms of human safety, we did have a problem for a while with one lioness. It wasn't this one. This was shot somewhere else, but we did have a problem with a young lioness who had a affinity for chewing the faucet heads off of our water taps outside of our tent. So we each live in our own canvas tent. Most of us along the river, again, unfenced, so wildlife is constantly in and out. But she seemed to like maybe the feeling of the plastic on her teeth. And one of my colleagues heard a huge splash, like geyser of water go off in the middle of the night. And in his sleepiness, went out to go look to try to turn the tap off. And he was out there without his glasses and semi-dressed because he was asleep and it was 3 a.m. And he came face to face with a lioness who was just standing there and looking at him. And he looked at her and then he went back inside and said, "We will worry about preserving, not wasting water another time. And we'll just until the morning comes." So yeah, it's just, you never know what's going to happen out there.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this little guy.
Yes, so this is the species that's found in Botswana. When the rainy season comes, we see quite a few of them. This is the flapneck chameleon. And I am always amazed by the color variation that we see in them. Typically, we see them crossing the road. I actually very rarely see them like in the trees, which is where you would assume you would see chameleons. But they're constantly moving around, constantly doing their chameleon things. And I always just try to lend a helping hand across the road when I can. And sadly, there's a lot of misinformation, and they are vilified because of their tongue and unusual eyes. And so it isn't uncommon for people to kill them on purpose, which was really sad. Yeah. So any chance I get, I try to move them. But I've even seen them walking around the grocery store parking lot in town.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I always try to rescue them and just move them out of harm's way. But yeah, they're just amazing, and just, yeah, beautiful patterns, full attitude, and really, really special little creatures.
Yeah, there's another shot showing the Dilepid is such a beautiful species. We rarely see it in captivity. So, all right, how about this little guy?
Yeah. So this is another species of chameleon I've seen in the wild in southern Africa. This is the Cape dwarf chameleon. This is still a juvenile, but they are found along the coast. And if you kind of know where to look, they're shockingly easy to find at night in particular. But yeah, so I went out with my sister and her partner, and we did some nighttime herping. We were very lucky to not be robbed as we were walking around in the total darkness looking for chameleons in South Africa. But we lived to tell the tale, and it was totally worth it because these little dwarf Cape chameleons are just so cool. And this was very close to a town. So it's just amazing to me that this sort of animal that we see as extremely exotic can casually just be like in the bushes in front of the restaurant kind of thing.
We have people just say, message me and say, "Hey, I found this in my backyard," and I'm going, "That's Brevicaudata pumilum. Oh my goodness, that is so cool."
Yeah. Yeah, the things that show up in my backyard also, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Giraffes, African rock pythons, hippopotamus, the whole lot. A lot of garden animals. It's different kind of garden animals.
Yeah. Speaking of garden animals.
Yes, one of my favorites. I love crocodiles. This was actually shot in Kruger National Park in South Africa, actually where I made our little tribute video for Bill last year. Yeah, same area. But I'm lucky enough to be on this stretch of river that has is just loaded with crocodiles. We have huge ones that take out the antelope as they come by, and they are also they're just so resilient to all these climatic changes. They hibernated or estivated for over a decade while the river completely dried, and then they all popped back out, and now they're just living the best lives. Yeah.
All right. Nate has a question. Does any of your work involve rewilding areas to make them more wildlife friendly for populations to expand, similar to what Mossy Earth does?
Our work is more directly focusing on direct impacts of human-wildlife conflict. We are a part of different, research groups that share data in terms of trying to establish and recommend certain areas of corridors that would allow for wildlife movement. Again, most of what we do is elephants, and they are very wide-ranging. So we're always trying to follow the science and try to advocate for areas that are high use areas for this wildlife. And that's part of what we're doing with our collaring data, seeing where they're going and why. But we've had elephants in Botswana travel all the way to Wangi National Park in Zimbabwe. So you have these massive travel distances, and that is definitely a big part of the conservation story in making good conservation management strategies, is figuring out can we save these areas to just allow wildlife to move around, not only for genetic diversity and the safety of those animals, but very much for the safety of people as well.
It's a swamp puppy.
Yeah, I know, aren't they? They're just amazing. I just love everything about them.
Eliza Ann would like to know, what do you love about crocodiles?
They're just so, it's hard to even put into words. I just love them so much. They're prehistoric. They predate everything. They've been unchanged for millions of years. They are just so, they're stealthy, but they're also just like explosive with power. And I think they're a lot smarter than people give them credit for. And just, of course, it's a massive reptile. So I just find them very charismatic. And we've had some crocodiles that have figured out that if they go up banks and like leave the river, that they can ambush prey far away from the water, which doesn't make any sense to anyone, but it makes sense for the crocodiles. So I'm just always blown away by like just their natural behavior and how it always is kind of pushing the envelope of what we think a crocodile behavior should be, because they're just out and about, just doing stuff constantly.
All right. Speaking of which, speaking of being out and about, is this in your backyard too?
Yeah, we have a lot of snakes. Not everyone finds this great, but I personally love snakes, so this is great for me. This is a spitting cobra, and we have, again, being in a national park, we're not trying to harm or move any of the wildlife out of the area, but we do have, a kitchen and other basic living environments that attract rodents, which then in turn attracts snakes. So we have quite a few puff adders. We've had puff adders living under the kitchen, under the deck. We've also had a fair amount of, there's a puff adder there that we caught that was actually just on the main deck underneath our water jugs that we've used to fill with RO water for drinking. And it was just chilling there for who knows how long. And fortunately, I've been trained on some venomous snake handling, so I'm usually the person to be removing the snakes.
So you are the
I am the snake person, yeah.
And so where do you remove them to?
We just move them to a different area in the park away from people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so what's the story here? You look so happy.
Yes. I was so happy. This was a pretty wild day. So as I've mentioned before, really anything can happen. You never know what your day is going to turn into out in the bush. So this was actually after I was working in the office. I was working on spreadsheets, like probably the most boring thing imaginable. And I had my AirPods in. I was just like listening to really loud music and just doing my thing, just trying to get through Friday. And as I was typing, I noticed some movement to the left of my hand. And once I looked, I saw that there was literally a Mozambican spitting cobra on my desk.
Oh, wow.
In the office. They go in and they chase the geckos around. But this was definitely the first time I've had a wild cobra basically come up to me. And fortunately, I kept my cool, got the snake capture kit, and had a really successful capture of this Mozambican spitting cobra that I put in my snake bucket. And I was just so proud of myself.
So how often do you have these kind of encounters?
The cobra on my desk was a one-off, but during the rainy season, we're catching a new puff adder every week, it seems. We have an office building or multiple office buildings and a kitchen that are made out of modified shipping containers. And they're on like a little short deck, but like loads of snakes live in there. Or underneath. So we constantly see the snake trails in and out. We've also had, I was having a nice pizza night with one of my colleagues. And as we're eating our pizza, we hear some rustling on a tree that's like maybe 10 feet from us. We look up and there's a mouse just running around frantically. And then we see another spitting cobra come down. But we were just like, nope, not today. We're having pizza. I'm not dealing with this. So we just had our pizza and watched this cobra chase down this mouse, which was pretty cool. But anything happened right outside of the kitchen on pizza night. You got more cobras.
Yeah. So when I said Madagascar is a great place because there's no venomous reptiles, you just said, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Madagascar felt very safe knowing that there was only technically one venomous snake, and it's a rear fang snake similar to a hognose. So yeah, I was very confident jumping into the bushes, grabbing the snakes in Madagascar, as you got to witness firsthand.
Yeah. We were just walking back from dinner, and all of a sudden she disappears into the night and comes out with a snake. So yeah.
I can't help it.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and go over across the Strait of Mozambique to Madagascar. And,
Yeah, we just got back from this Madagascar trip, and it really was an experience of a lifetime with the chameleon group. And so I don't actually have any pet chameleons myself, at least not at the moment. So I wasn't approaching the trip from the husbandry lens, which is what I think most of the Chameleon Academy folks were doing. I was looking at it more from the conservation ecology and island ecology lens. Just because that is more of my interest. But yeah, this was when we saw some lemurs. Gave me a good smack to the face, which I thought was very cute. And yeah, just an amazing experience with Bill and company out there.
And this is a baby Calumma Parsonia Christopher. Beautiful.
Yes, this was definitely one of my favorite sightings. It was so small, just a tiny little hatchling, but the color was just so incredible. I'd never seen anything like it, especially compared to what it looks like as an adult, where it's more blue and green. I was just really surprised to see that the babies, which I would think would be the most vulnerable life stage, would be such a bright color. I would think it would attract birds, but he was just like the cutest little thing.
Yeah, that's a huge question as to why is it orange, because it just stands out. And I mean, you wonder, well, what spectrum does the bird see? What spectrums do these predators see?
I was looking into that actually, because I was also trying to figure out what could be a driver, an evolutionary driver for this vibrant of a color for an animal that essentially has no defenses aside from hiding. And so, yeah, everything that we see, the colors that we interpret, it all has to do with the number of rods and cones that we have in our eyes. I started looking into it because I thought, okay, maybe their primary predators can't see orange the same way that deer cannot see orange hunting vests, or some deer can't see tigers. I thought maybe that would be something like that. I did find that snakes cannot see orange.
Oh.
Not entirely sure how they figured that out exactly, but they say they cannot see orange, but birds certainly can. So I don't really know. It's quite the head scratcher.
All right. Nate is asking, what camera and lens do you shoot with?
I shoot with a Canon R5, and most of my shots were done with the RF 100 to 500. I really love being able to watch the chameleon in its natural habitat without getting too close to it, just watching it in its own natural behavior. And so you can do that with a big telephoto lens. Some of the closer up macro shots I did with a Tamron 90 millimeter fixed lens. But yeah, very happy to chat gear after the show with anybody.
Well, I got to say, all right. And so those wondering, this is what the adult male looks like of the Christopher. Absolutely gorgeous specimen.
Yeah, that one we were so lucky with that one.
And we were surprised. Those of us who know Christopher, this is a monster. We did not expect such a big dude. So that was very cool. Okay. Now, this one has a special place in Stephanie's heart.
Yes. I am a big fan of the Ustaleti's, the Malagasy giant chameleons. Partly just because it was a species I'd never heard of. When I was around high school, my family did have a couple chameleons. We had veiled Jacksons and panthers. But one of the things that I found most enjoyable about our expedition to Madagascar was just learning about these species I'd never seen or heard of before. And this is one of them. So it's a really big, showy chameleon. We saw a number of big males. Actually saw one from the road as we were driving past, which I was very thrilled about. But just the diversity of chameleons, I just think is absolutely incredible. And to have such a big one is so cool. And I just didn't even know about it. They range in this beautiful yellow, which is what this female was, with like lots of red spots. But the other males we saw were typically more of like a black and white mottled color. And yeah, they're just so cool. They're just huge, like dragons.
Yeah, and we will be seeing a picture of a male coming up. But size compared to a Parsoni, they're going to be a little bit, the females are going to be smaller than a female Parsons. The males are, sometimes someone would argue that they're longer than the Parsoni, but they're not as bulky, but they are pretty big. So they are a pretty big chameleon. Now, this next species I know is a favorite of the Chameleon Academy community. This is a Calumma brevicorn, a male. And you remember where you were taking this picture?
Yeah, this is the individual that gave James, I think, just tears of joy to watch a chameleon poop in the wild.
That's right.
I think this was the supplier of such joy. And yeah, this was my first brevicorn. This was another one that I'd never heard of before, seen before, and yeah, just seeing the rostrils on the nose, I thought was just incredibly cool on this guy.
Yeah, in this community, we could call them the flappy flaps.
Yes. He was a stunning flappy flap and very helpful with some data point collection.
Yes, we have a number of F1 babies that we want to get together, and I think we would be able to make the world's first F2, true F2 brevicorn. So we have a soft spot for this little species. So now, speaking of little species, all right, everybody, hold on to your seats. This is Calumma gallus, and very rare species to see. And I am absolutely amazed that you got such a good shot of such a little guy.
I am impressed too, because I took a lot of photos, and sometimes you don't really know what you have until you get it on Lightroom when you get home. But this guy, you can't really tell from the photo, but he was only about 1.5 inches long. This was a tiny little guy, and he was really active. He had a lot of places to be. So it was
yes,
more challenging.
And none of the places were in front of our cameras.
None of the places were in front of the cameras, no. But yeah, that is definitely one of the preconceptions that I had going into this trip. Was I really thought photographing them would be easier, in the sense that I thought they wouldn't be nearly as mobile. I thought they would just be sitting on a branch, not moving, but that was not the case at all. They're incredibly active. And this guy was just on a mission. I think there was a female nearby. But yeah, I'm just so pleased that I was able to capture the detail in the nose and in the scales, and especially on the front limbs. There's these beautiful little scales that kind of go between like the orange and the blue. And it was all this detail that I didn't even see in person. And yeah, it's just such a special, tiny chameleon. And we have to give so much thanks to our local guides for being able to find animals like this, because it would be impossible with just our eyes.
Oh, okay. This little guy, this is Calumma gastrotania. I call them the little pickle chameleons.
Another amazing one that I'd never heard of before. And just, that blue stripe through the eye, so cool. Just amazing coloration.
So, all right, let's see. Random Clips is asking about Parson's chameleons. You don't need a license or something to keep a Parson's chameleons. And what kind of enclosure? The biggest possible. I like to do 5 by 4 by 7 or whatever. Yeah, big one. All right. Then we have this creature.
Oh, yes. Another highlight of the trip. As you guys know, Madagascar is home to about half of the species of chameleons in the world, but it is also home to 100% of the world's populations of lemurs, which I believe there's about 110 species of lemurs, which was very surprising to me. I didn't know there were that many, but one being the eye, which was such an unusual creature to see. We were so fortunate to see it. And this is him enjoying a coconut with his long, interesting fingers. But just, yeah, amazing to be eye to eye with the eye.
Yeah, this was so cool. And like she said, we are so lucky because the natives kill eyes because they think they're demons. And so we were able to go to a special island that actually has guards on it to keep people from coming and killing the eyes. And so they would put coconuts out, and the eyes know that if they deal with all of us human beings around, I mean, we can't get anywhere near. There are rails, and they put coconuts out. And if the eyes decide they feel like coconuts, then we get to see eyes. If they decide they're full of coconut, then we don't get to see eyes. So we were lucky, and it was very cool to see them.
Yeah, any sighting of a wild animal always just feels like such a blessing, because it's, if you wanted a guarantee, we would go to zoos, right? But seeing them in the wild in their natural habitat, it is such to me, a far more rich experience.
And Annabelle saying, don't forget the tenrecs.
Yes, and the tenrecs. Yes, that was another one I never expected to see. So for those that don't know, a tenrec is basically like a small hedgehog type creature.
Yes.
And we were lucky to see them roll up to this coconut situation. And yes, we had 2 endemic, amazing species encounters in the same place.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. The wonderful, incredible Parson's chameleon. This is an adult male orange eye Parson's chameleon.
And another, excuse me, another very lucky find that we really owe it to the guides for finding.
Yeah. And being able to hang out with these guys in the wild, they are so gentle. And you would expect in the wild them to be panicking and stuff. No, they're as calm as they are in captivity. Such a beautiful specimen. And hey, that's me and Stephanie sat at the front of the boat to get good photographs. So,
yeah, it was so much fun.
And of course, there is the wonderful Ustaletai.
Yep, just absolutely thrilled. And just right along the road. I remember seeing it as we were like flying by, and I was telling Patrick, I was like, I think I saw a chameleon. And they're like, and then through a couple questions, like, oh, it's the Ustaletai, because nothing else looks quite like this one. So we did a big U-turn in our giant bus. And sure enough, my eyes were not playing tricks on me. And yeah, we got this great sighting, this huge mature male.
When you see an Ustaletai in the wild, you wonder why in the world is this not one of the most popular chameleon pets. They are just huge. They can be squirmy, but they're also not afraid of you. And so, I mean, they're annoyed by us, but it was such a great experience. And then there's downtime. So, do you remember where this was?
Oh, yes. The Palmarium.
The Palmarium.
Amazing place. And from that, from my little deck there, so the other side of that was Bill's bungalow. But from sitting right there, you see lemurs come by. And I also saw a panther chameleon just kind of casually walk by. And yeah, just just being so immersed where the wildlife can come to you. And we actually had a lemur, black and white rough lemur, go into Bill's.
He was rifling through my stuff.
Yeah. So you kind of have to watch out for them because they definitely seem like they are the raccoon trash panda equivalent in Madagascar.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just
yeah.
it's a really
They
magical
ran
place.
into my room to check out, see what's going on there. They mugged James and stole his sugar for his coffee.
They
So
stole your banana.
they stole my banana. What the heck? I was just sitting there. I was minding my own business on the table, and this little lemur hand sticks up through, grabs my banana, and runs off. So yeah,
It was not that lemur's first rodeo.
no, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He knew how to do it. He knew.
But they're all endemic and endangered, so they can get away with it. They can do whatever they want.
Oh boy. So, all right, everybody, that is our initial slideshow. So if you have any questions for Stephanie, and by the way, we are going to have a little bit of a halftime where we're going to go over a sponsor, and we are going to be giving away more Madagascar magnets. And I have some very a number of these Madagascar magnets because, like, when I was buying them, somebody tried to cheat me and try to charge me twice what they were going for. And so I bought 4 of them from the lady who gave me the right price, and I did it right in front of the guy who's trying to cheat me. So now I've got stuff for you to give away. And so what I'm going to do is we are going to give away. Don't start. Wait a minute. Don't start putting stuff in just yet. Hang on. All right. Okay, so now you can go ahead and start typing in magnet in there, and we're going to let that marinate a little bit. So you can type that into the comments section, and we are now gathering the entries. And so, Steph, what would you say is one of your favorite experiences in Madagascar?
As I think anyone on the trip would attest to, that is an extremely difficult question. It was just full of so many amazing experiences. But I would probably have to say my favorite location was the Palmarium, which was our last location, just because of the diversity of not only the chameleons we saw, where we saw incredible chameleons, including all the Brachysias, including Brachysia nofi, which I believe we talked about last week. Tiny, less than an inch, and only discovered last year and named last year. So still, discovering these new species is incredible. But you also have the lemur population, but also the thing that I absolutely loved was seeing nepenthes, carnivorous plants in the wild as well. So it just was such an incredible biodiverse spot that really, to me, represents the beauty and incredible diversity of Madagascar, but just also island ecosystems in general. So my background in graduate school was I worked in New Zealand studying seabird ecology and island ecosystems and island conservation. So also seeing it kind of in the scape of Madagascar was a really, really cool thing for me.
All right. Well,
also, yes, I see James's comment. Yes. Getting to know James is also a huge highlight for my time in Madagascar.
Oh, I wish I could win a Steph Kong. Yes. Everybody needs a Steph Kong.
Everyone needs a Stephanie. But also, yes, and in all seriousness, too, just getting to know the group and being a part of such an enthusiastic team of people was just so infectious. Like, again, I'm not in husbandry, but I could listen to, conversations for hours about how people are, trying to provide the best care for their chameleons and nerding out about, oh, did you see that? Did you look at the humidity numbers? Look at the temperature, like look at this fog bank. Like it was just really cool to be a part of such an enthusiastic group, just nerding out about chameleons. Like how cool. Oh yeah, so this is a photo of Nepenthes madagascariensis, a massive plant. And I'd never seen a Nepenthes this large before. I didn't know they could get this large. If you zoom out, basically the entire photo is Nepenthes. And for a long time, our family has been growing Nepenthes in a greenhouse in the backyard. My brother has a carnivorous plant business, so we love our Nepenthes. So it was very cool to see it in the wild. And seeing those conditions. So similar with the husbandry of how you guys were looking at chameleons, I was also looking at the conditions of these super unique plants.
All right. Stephanie, it is now, you tell me when it's time to hit the draw button.
All right.
Is it going? You just say, do it.
All right, do it now.
All right, there we go. There we go. All right.
And free. Oh,
Natalie.
There we go, hey. Natalie. Congratulations, Natalie.
All right, Natalie, you are getting a Madagascar magnet for this little guy. Excellent. So,
excellent choice.
All right, everybody. Every week, we are going to have a sponsor. And next week, the sponsor is actually someone other than me. Hey, like that. But this week, the sponsor is the hunting microscopic chameleon parasites. And by the way, we are going to have another giveaway after this sponsor note. But something that's really cool about this, let's say I'm going to bring up some media assets. I actually did a very cool little music video for about the parasites. And so these are what you're going to be seeing in this little short video are parasites that you can actually see when you're looking at your chameleon's poop.
A microscopic predators creeping under my skin. I'm on a mission. Gotta find where they begin. Hunting through the microscope. Scouring the scene, tiny invaders. You won't get away clean. With determination, I dive into the fray. On the hunt for parasites, they won't have their way. Under the lens, my eyesight quick and sharp. I'll uncover the hiding spot and tear them apart. In this microscopic world, I'm the conqueror supreme. Tracking down those creepy crawlies. It's my dream. I won't let them infect me. I won't let you hurt me. I will be the house. Flying in fence. I won't let them
All right.
Leave it to you to make parasites super fun.
Yes, and Steph sat through a complete, me going over the complete life cycle of coccidia.
Oh, I had access to the master class. Those were some long bus rides.
Yes.
We had so much time to discuss the intricacies of coccidia.
Oh, all right, everybody. It is now time to start in with this guy right here. You can see the picture there. It is a lemur with a baby lemur. This is a kitchen magnet. So you can go ahead and start putting in the hashtag lemur. Oh, by the way, if you are interested in taking that course about chameleon parasites, go to chameleonacademy.com and you can sign up there. This is a paid course. It's going to teach you everything about how to shop for your microscope, how to use the microscope, the parasite chameleon relationship, how to identify parasites, the medications to use, and how to do your husbandry to break the parasite life cycle. And so that's all at chameleonacademy.com. You can sign up for the course there. So let's see. Yes, Kiki says, I looked up, there are 2 species native of Madagascar. Yes, there is Madagascariensis, and the other one I have such a hard time pronouncing, so we'll just have to Google it. So, and Marcia says, the parasite course is worth every penny. Thank you, Marcia. Yes, we've been, once you're in the parasite course, you're also put into a forum where all the students, the alumni, and me are in there, and we share our real life case studies. And so you're actually seeing how the information is being used in real life. So, all right, it is time.
All right, go for it.
Oh, she said go for it. All right, we're going to go for it. Do. Yay, Joanne! Wow.
Man, congratulations.
We're going to be sending to Joanne. Joanne, you get a lemur magnet. So wonderful. And then, James is trying to win a trip back to Madagascar. So where are your future travels taking you?
Always to be determined. I'll be back. So I'm right now in California visiting family, but I'll be back in Botswana in the next couple months. And yeah, I think who knows where I'll turn up. But for now, yep, elephants in Botswana is where it's at. And I'll continue to enjoy this really unique experience for as long as it feels right.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think about a step up. That's kind of a cool life.
It's a very unique life. Yeah. And I, growing up in the States, I was in consulting before. I've been in academia and research. I've tried a lot of different things. But yes, I do think it is hard to imagine being in a normal desk job, even though I do a lot of things that are computer-based and in the office. But as you know, from my spitting cobra experience, office life, it's a little different in Botswana. So yeah, to be determined.
Oh, so yep. There are all of us, most of us, sitting on top of the mountain in Andasi Bay.
Yeah. Yep. We're up there waiting for it to get dark so we can walk back on the trail at nighttime to see what other animals would come out. And this is when we had this incredible, thick fog bank roll in, where it kind of went from beautiful and clear and watching the lemurs hop around in the trees below to almost zero visibility and just chock full of fog, which was very cool. And we had the fog father with us. So, it was just very fitting. And so we waited up there for quite a few hours until we were able to come back. And on the way back, just saw, Brachisias, all sorts of chameleons and mouse lemurs and satanic leaf-tailed geckos, as well as other leaf geckos. And just the diversity on these mountains and in Madagascar is just next level. It's unreal.
That's where I saw that blue Eurypletus fantasticus. That was spectacular. And if anybody listened to my last podcast episode and you heard me talking about how Madagascar is one of the places on Earth that is afflicted by gravity, and that the only thing you had to do is stay on the trail. Actually, Stephanie, did you hear about James's adventure?
Which you have to be more specific.
That is true. No, about taking a shortcut down the mountain.
Oh yeah, I was just walking and I heard like a loud crash. And I turned around and James was nowhere to be seen. And then I see a local guide like dive off the side. And it just happened so fast. But I'm really glad we all recovered on that trip. And we were all able to see another day.
Yeah, that was right in front of me. James was right in front of me. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't.
He wasn't. No, just gone.
So everybody, lesson learned. You got to stay on the path. Yes, James is an adventurer. You're right. Not an adventurer. He is an adventure. Things happen around him. He is the nexus of which adventure orbits. And so he will do things that things will happen to him that have happened to no one else. It's amazing. We love having James there. So,
yeah, road less traveled, definitely.
Oh, so all right, everybody, we're going to start closing this down. Please, any last questions for Steph, for me, for anybody about anything? And yeah, see why I told him not tree climbing? You know what? He never tried to climb a tree. He tried everything else, but not climbing a tree. And so I have to admit, I told him over and over again, he cannot climb trees. He's not allowed to climb trees. He did what I said. So I guess I can't complain. Complain.
And we're lucky that we weren't in Southern Africa, where like every bush is spiky and has it out for you. At least we were in a nice, friendly forest.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. Then I want to say thank you, everybody, for coming around. And Steph, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun. And it's so great to connect with the Chameleon Academy family. You guys are all amazing. And I'm so, even though, again, I'm not in husbandry, but I'm so thankful to be a part of this community. And you guys are just great people.
Do you think you'd ever have a pet chameleon?
Well, after being around you guys, I'm warming up to the idea. But I will say for now, it is very nice that all the chameleons in my life take care of themselves.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about anything. But yeah, maybe down the line in the future, I'll be reaching out to create my dream chameleonscape where I'll have an Ustuleti.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. And we will see you on the interwebs.
Thank you, guys.